It's 5:45 p.m., which means it's time for BCTV's weekly Media Roundup 545 Live. I'm tonight's host, Roland Boyden. I'll be taking you through the next 15 minutes of a edition here on 545 Live, where we'll get you all the Election Day coverage from this past Tuesday. We'll check in with the latest Fairpoint news down the street, and we'll get you some footage from the Project Feed the Thousands kickoff, plus so much more with our 7-town summary, weather from BUHS TV, and our calendar coverage, all that in 15 minutes or less, so stick with us right here on 545 Live.
Just want to do a hello to everybody in Windham County, this part of Vermont. Optimistic I'll be your governor a week from Wednesday morning when I wake up, and will be a game changer for Vermont going forward.
Welcome back to this November 7th, 2014 edition of 545 Live, an inaugural evening edition post-daylight savings time as we get a look at Brattleboro's cityscape at night behind us. Now that's footage of Republican gubernatorial challenger Scott Milne just before the election in Brattleboro. But this Tuesday, Milne shocking the state by very nearly unseating Democratic incumbent Peter Shumlin, despite Shumlin's healthy lead in the polls, with the final tallies allotting 46.43% to Shumlin and 45.34% to Milne. And while Vermont statute will turn the decision of who is crowned governor over to the legislature this January following the lack of a 50% or more winner, the margins from Tuesday's turnout technically qualify for a recount, with Milne stating on Wednesday that, quote, "What is clear is that the majority of Vermonters do not agree with the path that we are on. We are going to wait for the final numbers." Now, following that statement up with a Facebook post on his official page quoting the headline, "Shumlin's claim of victory premature." Now, this all comes after a Wednesday speech from Shumlin in which the governor assured voters that he would be taking the message behind his faltering support to heart.
I have taken a lesson from this election. I've listened to the voters. And I am obviously going to, on all of the major priorities of my administration, reflect, talk to folks, be inclusive.
Now, in other primary news, Windham County returned longtime Senator Jeanette White to Montpelier once again, with newcomer Becca Balint joining her following her victory in the heated Democratic primary earlier this year. BCTV volunteers were out and about at the polls this year as well, which happened to be right here in this 230 Main Street office, to gather some of the Election Day action, including the campaigning from the Vermont Workers' Center as they continue their focus on the state's health care reform.
We are asking for you to support us in the healthcare as a human right and to continue to hold our legislators accountable to the equitable financing that needs to happen to truly make this a universal, equitably financed healthcare system.
Thanks to Maria Dominguez for getting quite a bit of footage on Election Day here in the Municipal Center, including that Vermont Workers Center footage and election results as well. Now, election night was also a regular Tuesday Select Board meeting night for Brattleboro, but with the board's usual meeting room packed with voting booths, members of the Brat SB took to BCTV's third-floor studios on Tuesday night to discuss an agenda dominated by budget talks as the board eyes a reported $2.5 million in capital needs.
For about a 1-cent tax increase from last year's budget to this year's budget. And we'll want to talk through how we reach those figures going forward. But there are some way important issues that I think need to be highlighted as we begin the discussion of this year's budget.
Thanks to BCTV content manager Jeff Mastriani for magically transforming BCTV's studios into a select board meeting room. So we could put together that meeting. You can find it in its entirety to stream at your leisure at BrattleboroTV.org, and it runs all this coming week. 2 clicks up the dial on our government and education sister channel, Channel 10. And with that, time to move on in the headlines, as signified by our 545 Live sweeping logo transition here. As the first news of progress in the Fairpoint worker strike came this week, as company representatives agreed to meet with union officials in the presence of a mediator. The problem, the meeting in question is still 2 weeks away, slated for November 18th in Boston, and while this will mark the first real communication between the company and union reps since the strike began, Fairpoint workers hoping to return to their posts aren't holding their breath just yet. with company reps referring to the meeting as exploratory more than a bargaining opportunity, with Fairpoint CEO Paul Sanu telling VPR this week that, quote, "Our plan here on the contingency planning has not been about just keeping the lights on. It has really been about being able to service our customers in the long run. That's part of the reason we spent so much time with our contingency contractors and workforce training them." While local Vermont IBEW chapter business manager Mike Spillane countered by saying, quote, "I know they've put a significant amount of money into not negotiating with us. I think if you look at all the money they've put out, they could have solved this contract with the money instead of using it not to bargain with the union." End quote. Well, here out on the streets of Brattleboro, striking workers remain toting the same message. They're ready to return to their posts if only the company can make some progress in the bargaining.
Federal mediators asked the company to get back to the bargaining table. They set a date of November 18th, but the company also came out and said it's just a courtesy to the federal mediator. Our stance hasn't changed. So we're not too sure what's going to come of that. But other than that, there's really no update.
In addition, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was out and about this past week as well, hosting a press conference to urge Fairpoint execs to work with the union to help end the strike.
To me, and my request, my very strong request this morning, is that Fairpoint come back to the bargaining table. We are living in very serious economic times. Working people deserve a decent living. They deserve decent wages. They deserve decent benefits. And they have the right to be part of negotiations where the company is negotiating in good faith.
The Fairpoint workers have seen their pensions frozen since August of this year, but have now had their health benefits cut by the company as well. We'll keep you abreast of more of the headlines in that developing story as they come in. But for now, we'll move on in the headlines as today marked the kickoff of the annual food and fun drive, Feed the Thousands. Now, Project Feed the Thousands has been helping area residents keep from being hungry by populating the shelves of local pantries like the Brattleboro Area Drop-In Center with food and funds for years now. And for more, WTSA's Tim Johnson hosted various members of the campaign in BCTV's downtown studios before launching a kickoff at Price Chopper this morning. We'll take a look at the clip now.
River Valley Credit Union, all their locations, you will take cash donations and food donations, as well as Brattleboro Savings and Loan for sure. A lot of the area gas stations have cash buckets, so if anyone wants to drop a check or, change or pennies or anything.
Now, of course, food donations are always welcome, and there are bins at the Brattleboro Food Co-op, Price Chopper, and Hannaford supermarkets in Brattleboro, but money can go a long way as well when it comes to Project Feed the Thousands, as they can take those dollars you donate and really put them to use at the Vermont Food Bank, where they can get quite a lot of food for that money, much more so actually than the food you can purchase with your own dollar at a supermarket. So you can donate make a donation right on their website, feedthethousands.org. You can even designate which of the local food pantries you'd like this donation to go to, or you can just make a generic donation. You can also mail them to Project Feed the Thousands, care of River Valley Credit Union. Make cash or check donations at the drop boxes for Feed the Thousands at any one of the area banks or supermarkets. All right, time to move on now. We'll head south to Vernon now for our next story, as Vernon residents were out in full force again this past Monday to demand the resignation of Board Chair Patty O'Donnell following allegations that she interfered with a neighbor's DUI case. And while no charges have been filed following the Windham County Sheriff's Office handing off the case to the Vermont State Police, several members of the Vernon public are declaring a verdict in.
You look around and see who's here now, you've got to know that this particular incident has galvanized interest in exactly what's going on.
Absolutely.
So we're not asking you to make a legal judgment, but there is a moral judgment for what's taken place right here that we all have to look at. I'm not asking you to be judge and jury, about the legality of it, but there is a moral issue that's really first and foremost about what goes on.
O'Donnell herself was absent from this Monday's meeting, but that didn't stop area residents from speaking their minds. You can see that full meeting. It's streaming right now at BrattleboroTV.org, and it'll show all this coming week on BCTV Channel 10. Thanks to BCTV ED Court Trowbridge for heading out to Vernon to get some close-up camera work footage of that meeting. It's a trend we'll see moving forward as well. All right, time to move on now. And speaking of Monday meetings, members of the BUHS board were greeted with a surprise before this Monday's regular meeting of theirs, a pop quiz of sorts, as board members themselves get a chance to try their hand at the school's new standardized testing system. Dubbed Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, or SBAC, the test promises a more genuine assessment of students' abilities as learners, while still offering measurable data to administrators and accreditors.
We had the opportunity as a board to participate in a sample Smart Balance Assessment Consortium test. And it was an interesting and worthwhile use of time. However, it was, in my case, a lesson in humility.
BUHS will join more than 200 other schools in Vermont in adopting the SBAC system and plans to roll out the new tests as early as 2016. You can see that footage and more discussion on the issue at the board's regular meeting from this past Monday. It's available at brattleboro.tv.org to stream as we speak, and you can find it on Channel 10 this coming week as well. Thanks to BCTV producer Ian Keel for putting that together and getting that footage of the test taking in action. All right, with that, time to move on to our BCTV video calendar. Now, this is all courtesy of the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, whose generous contributions each year help sponsor BCTV's weekly look at calendar events around town, adding video clips to the mix as we delve into what's going on in the region. And for today's calendar coverage, we'll touch base with the Brattleboro Film Festival as they get set to wrap up their 10-day run with a blitz of films this weekend that will culminate with their ever-popular Best in Fest, a replay of the fest's top films as selected by viewers voting throughout the week.
Again, because of the success last year, we're going to be repeating our Best in Fest countdown to the Best in Fest. So take those cards after you see a film seriously. Your vote does count. And if you vote for a film, it all gets tabulated on Saturday night.
You can find a complete schedule for the remaining films at the Brattleboro Film Festival's website, brattleboro.filmfestival, all one word, .org. And that does it for another edition of 545 Live. Thanks for checking in with us. We'll be back next week right here on BCTV Comcast Channel 8. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.
Project Feed the Thousand.